Hey everyone, I know it's been a few days since I last uploaded something on the channel, but I have a huge number of announcements and they are very exciting. I've been working behind the scenes for the last few months and I have a number of announcements that I want to make. The first announcement is about channel organization. The first one is the main Easy Theory channel, which is where you're currently watching this, which has been traditionally about solving problems one at a time. What we're going to be doing now is that the main Easy Theory channel is going to be about theory in a general sense. It's going to cover big theory results, both new and old. It's going to cover the philosophy of theory, and it's not necessarily about solving individual problems. It's going to be a more holistic view of what computer science theory actually is. The focus will be about the context in which something was proved or the development of a certain concept, and it's also about the insights in which the people at the time solved the thing and how they were able to prove it. It's less of an explanation of how something was proved, but rather putting ourselves in the author's shoes, seeing what kind of insights that we can get along the way. It's a subtle reframing, a more bottom-up approach versus a top-down approach, but I think that is something that is worthwhile in our area. And even more importantly, it's more about giving you the confidence to be able to pursue any hard problem that you are currently facing, computationally or otherwise. And even more importantly, it's not shying away from what computer science theory represents. It's about embracing abstraction and how to become, I would say, vulnerable to discrete mathematics, about computation, about algorithms, and being able to work with those confidently, but also understand what they truly mean. We're not going to limit ourselves to automata theory, which is what my channel has been for a very long time. We're going to be talking about algorithms. We're going to be talking about complexity theory. We're going to be talking about, obviously, automata theory and how those relate to each other, as well as other aspects of theory. It's not just going to be about automata theory anymore. And one of the main goals is not just to promote, but to also embrace accessibility in the sense of a general audience perspective. Traditionally, my channel has been about computer science theory from the perspective of a student taking a theory class of some kind. But I want it to be more about how we can market and show off how cool theory is to the general public. More on this in a little bit in another announcement, but that's one of my main goals. One of the unfortunate stereotypes that we have in theory is that there is a so-called barrier in between us and the general public in terms of being able to explain how a certain algorithm works or what P versus NP means. We can internalize this because we are computer science people immersed in the subject, but this barrier shouldn't exist. What we should embrace more is to bring everyone in and to show them how awesome theory is. I believe that anyone can learn to love and to appreciate computer science theory. Currently, the marketing situation here is terrible, but more on this in a little bit. But I hear all the CS Theory students screaming at their screens right now, hey, what about those problem-solving videos? Those are not going away. I have a second channel called Easy Theory Problem Solving. Those are going to have detailed explanations of all kinds, not just in solving the specific problem that I'm talking about, but also putting it in a larger context. My goal here is to upload a video daily on that second channel, but I know that I haven't necessarily kept all the promises that I've made about uploading more frequently. That is a goal of mine. That is not something that I am promising, but it's something that I'm trying to work toward. The second major announcement is I have a business that is fully set up. It is an LLC devoted to Easy Theory specifically. It allows me to have easier organization of Easy Theory as a brand, but it also now allows me to hire additional people such as a script editor, a video editor, and so on. The third major announcement is about a video studio that I'm setting up. Let me show you what we have. Here is the current video recording studio. That is a tripod where I put this camera on. This is all that there is. It's just a tripod and a whiteboard. And I do not like this setup for several reasons. One is the audio setup. Current setup is using a Rode shotgun microphone. and it's unidirectional. If I happen to be facing toward the camera, then the audio levels are great. But if I am facing away from the camera, which I am often, it doesn't show up nearly as well. And if I'm facing toward the whiteboard, then it's really bad. The second reason I want to get rid of it is because of the lighting situation. So we currently have overhead lighting. And as you can see, it shows up on the whiteboard and there isn't really any way around that. I usually then appeal to the ambient lighting. But if you can see from the side, as you can see if I zoom in, you can see that it reflects there too. No matter what the audio situation is or the lighting situation is, there is an inherent problem with this, which is that this thing makes a huge amount of noise, especially since I am fairly aggressive when it comes to writing things. I was teaching my wife programming on this. That's what you see here. But reason why I want to get rid of this is because of this sound. My idea is to get rid of this thing. I bet you didn't even know that there were all these bookshelves back here. Isn't that really cool? Instead of facing this way, we're going to turn this way. This is where I am intending on having the video studio set up. So this is a cheap desk that I found on Facebook Marketplace that I will need to clean. The tripod is basically going to stay exactly where it is, but face the other way. And the desk is going to go over there. Our dog's crate is right there, as well as some other stuff that we'll just need to move. The idea is that we're going to then have audio set up via like a Sennheiser or something that is going to point down directionally at me. So I'm going to face this way. What we're going to do is we're going to have a C stand, a big metal C that's facing down. So kind of looking like this, that attaches to the side of the desk that goes up, over, and then down. And the purpose of that is to have another camera body that points down at the thing that is currently on the desk. So there will be two camera bodies. This one, which is just going to film me just straight on, and a second camera body, which is going to point down at the desk, and that's going to film whatever I am currently working on. The idea is that I'm going to cover this desk with some kind of paint, probably chalkboard paint, and it's going to be completely black. We're going to also have lighting. So the lighting is going to be focused on me, but also some lights that focus down. So I'm also wanting to have this be a very efficient studio. So by efficient, I mean I just push one thing and everything works. I'm planning on getting a teleprompter that's going to go in front of this camera body for all content, not just the main channel, but also the problem solving channel. I'm going to have a switcher to work with this camera and the other camera that I am intending on getting that will record them simultaneously, both feeds, to a single external drive. And then I can switch between them as I am doing the content. So as I'm solving the problem or I am doing the explanation on the main channel or whatever. That way, when I get back to my machine, then I can just make any kind of small minimal edits instead of having to cut a whole bunch of things together. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff. There's like cabling, there's rigging, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that I am not going to get into here. But that's the basic idea of what I'm intending on doing with the studio. In order to support creating the studio, I created a GoFundMe. At the link right here is also in the description. The estimated total cost of the studio for everything that I want to do with it is $8,300. But depending on how much the fund actually receives, I may have to cut some corners or to amend my vision somewhat. I understand that most people are not in a financial situation right now, especially given current times, to donate, and I completely understand. I want to make clear that if you are currently a student or someone in a financial hardship situation, do not donate to this. Only if you value the content that I make and have enough money to do so do I want you to donate. If you are able to financially support, I humbly thank you for your generosity. The money will be going toward new camera setup, as well as audio setup, lighting, cabling, a license for DaVinci Resolve Studio, and so on. If you happen to know any camera or audio companies that need a sponsor, have them get in contact with me. I will pledge that all educational content that I ever produce of any kind will always remain freely available. All videos and anything else that I make that involves some educational content, always free forever. My goal is to produce high quality videos for all of you to showcase why theory is awesome and why you should care. And by you, I mean not just my typical CS theory professional audience, but also the general public. It's not just about the pragmatism of why theory should be studied and that it's used in some application. That is important and I completely get it, and there is a balance that needs to be made there. But it's also about the philosophical ramifications of what we study, why we study it, and why we care. The fourth major announcement is about the Easy Theory textbook. 4.5 years ago, I made a video or a short, I forget which, honestly, it's been so long. It was about how I am currently making a textbook. I basically haven't said anything about the book in the 4.5 years since then. So I want to make an announcement about this. The textbook is real and it's coming. The current working title is Theory of Computing for Everyone. And the idea there is about having theory become as accessible as possible. I genuinely believe, after having taught this stuff for so long, making hundreds of videos online, theory can be learned by anyone. Without any CS background, nothing is needed other than a willingness to learn. And there's a whole bunch of bells and whistles that I am making theory as simple as possible. Every single textbook I've looked at has had some major problem, whether that be it focuses only on the pragmatic parts of theory, that it's useful for this application, therefore you should study it, or it's a wall of text and students become disinterested, or the explanations are not good enough. There's a whole bunch of reasons for every single book and they're all different. I want to bridge all of those gaps. The philosophy is that every single book I've seen has had a staircase pattern where we want to get from down here up to here, and we have some kind of staircase that gets us up there. But the steps themselves are quite large. Some of the exercises in, say, the back of a chapter or going from one concept to another involves a fairly large increase in cognitive load or recalling concepts that are really far away from when we last used them. So there's a whole bunch of things that I am not going to talk about right now because I don't want this video to be too long. But the idea is to make those steps smaller. More steps, but smaller steps that still get to the same place. As may be implied, the book will be self-published under Easy Theory, and it will be likely finished by fall 2026, so roughly a year from when this video is up. It depends on how much time I can invest in it, but that is my anticipation. Over the last 4 years, I have been developing this book behind the scenes. I spent all this time thinking about exactly what I want this book to be, and now I have a very clear path forward. There's a thing in computer system security called a NOP sled. It's kind of hard to explain. I'm not going to explain all the details, but the basic idea is that if you want to hack a system and you put malicious code into something, you want the code to jump to a specific location. But the problem is that it's very hard in modern systems to land it on the exact instruction that you want the code to land on. So the idea is to put basically a runway where if the code lands anywhere on the runway, it will just slide over to wherever you need to go. Make a bunch of NOP instructions. So a NOP instruction is a no-op. Basically, it does nothing. It lands on anywhere on this sled, so to speak, and then it just moves forward until it reaches your destination. That's kind of how I envision this book to be. No matter where you fall on the discrete math spectrum, whether you got an A+ in the class or have no experience in it whatsoever, I want you, regardless of where you are, to be able to go to the destination that I want you to go. The fifth major announcement is a Patreon setup. Again, all learning content that I will ever produce will always be free. If you want an option to financially contribute on an ongoing basis, there's a Patreon link in the video description. As I mentioned before, if you are currently a student or someone who is in a financial hardship of any kind, please don't donate. There are going to be 3 tiers. The first tier is the regular tier, which is $1 a month and effectively says, thank you for all the content that you produce. The second tier is $3 a month, and you get access to a patron-only newsfeed, such as behind the scenes, video ideas, and work in progress. I currently have a table read of some kind going over one of the longer projects that I'm working on currently. You also get your name listed at the end of each main channel video if you're in this tier. And the third tier is the touring tier, which is $10 a month. It includes early viewing of main channel videos, voting on topic polls, and access to merch that the Easy Theory channel produces. So, with that said, there is now a merch store. I created a fourth wall page, linked in the video description, which currently has namely t-shirts and a cap with the Easy Theory logo on them. There's going to be a lot more merch in the coming months. My goal here is to make prices as minimal as possible, and that is what I have done so far, and I will continue to do. Like, fourth wall, I swear, will error out if I make the prices any lower than what they are currently set at. I honestly don't have the clock cycles to manage all of the creation, distribution, all of the management stuff, so I'm offloading it to fourth wall. I wish I can offer the merch for less, but I just don't have the ability to do so right now. And the final announcement is something that is not currently made, but is something that I'm working toward. I want to announce it here because this is where my head is at. I want to create a nonprofit for providing grants and scholarships to CS students, especially those who are interested in theory in some way. My goal in eventually creating this is that this community has given me so much in terms of praise and clout that I want to give back in some meaningful way. The philosophy and the logistics behind this is that once the channel has reached a certain amount of profit per year, then I'm able to set aside some of that money and to send it into a 501c3 nonprofit where I will be able to offer grants and scholarships from that nonprofit. There's a fairly large upfront cost. I think it's around $600 to start a 501c3, money that I honestly don't have right now. This will have to wait until I have enough money for that. Hopefully that was interesting. If you have any questions, please leave a comment down below. Remember, if you want to donate, there are links in the video description if you want to do so. If you are a student and or are in a financial hardship, please don't donate. There's going to be a lot more interesting and awesome content in the coming months. Thanks again for your support.